Mobile 4, our Land Rover, my favourite vehicle in the team. It's very, very capable. I think our most capable vehicle that we've got for off-road. On the wheels, we've got all-year tyres, really, really useful when we have snow. We don't have to change them and put winter tyres on, but they'll cope with all the conditions that we get all year round. Coming inside, there's a few different things in the Land Rover. We have the keys on the wrong side for some reason. Often forget about that. Once you're in the Land Rover, everything's very solid. We have a normal gear lever, like you would have in any other car. We also have this little one here. This one takes us between high and low ratio. High is for normal driving, low is for when it gets a little bit tricky. Also have diff lock, which if the wheels are spinning and so on, can give us a little bit more traction. We have what we call the airwaves, and this will keep us in contact with the other emergency services as well as other mountain rescue team members. Much more capable than our radios, but we have team radio, and then we also have our phone. The reason I like this, it might be difficult to drive, the pedals might be very stiff, the windscreen wiper's a little bit rubbish, but it's just really safe, really reliable, and it will get you there and it will get you back again. In the back of the Land Rover we carry pretty much the same kit as we have on all our response vehicles. The only thing with the Land Rover is there's no sort of containers, shelves and so on, it's all just thrown in together. Hurrah! Over here we have a lock cabinet and we keep our controlled drugs in there. So as a mountain rescue team we have very special privileges that we can take some quite powerful drugs to treat our casualties. We have specialist training so that some team members can give those specialist drugs. So the Land Rover might take us closer to the casualty, and if we get there first and the casualty is in a lot of pain, we have the drugs and the qualifications and the experience to administer those drugs to help make them a little bit more comfortable. We've got the stretcher straps on the top, and we have the wheel that we put the stretcher on. Makes it a lot easier for our team members to carry the stretcher with the wheel, don't have to take the weight of the casualty. Normally when we get to a call out we have our bags and we call them bags 1 to 4. The idea being that bag 1 will go out first. So bag 1 has our life-saving kit, things that will keep the casualty alive if they're in a really desperate situation. And this is bag 1 and it's quite a heavy bag, and what we'll tend to do with that is team members will carry that alongside their own personal rucksack. Our next bag, bag 2, is our oxygen. Quite useful for a lot of poorly casualties. Oxygen can really help them feel a little bit better. Bag 3, for the ladies out there, if you've had a baby, you may well have been given Entonox to help you through childbirth. It's a pain-killing drug that we use. It's very simple and quick to administer and gives pain relief quite rapidly. Then we have bag 4, another big heavy rucksack, which again team members will carry in addition to their own rucksacks. In here we have things that are going to help keep the casualty warm and safe and so on. And as you can see we've got splints, we've got a mat, makes them a little bit more comfortable. Can keep them warm as we get towards winter if we can get them to sit or lie on this. We also have a box tent or sort of emergency shelter in there, which is a life-saving bit of kit. We recommend anybody going out on the hills, particularly as we get towards winter, carries a little box tent with them. Then we have the CAS bag. So this is just a great big, really warm, fluffy sleeping bag. This time of year, we'll use it on all our casualties. We'll wrap them in this to keep them nice and warm and comfortable. When you're lying still and not moving, you can get cold really, really quickly. So having something like this is really, really important. Then, none of our bags are small. This is probably the biggest of the lot. This one is the vacuum mattress. It's full of little polystyrene balls. And what we do with this is we can use it to splint people. So if we think they've got quite nasty injuries, we lie it on the stretcher, it is full length, the casualty will lie on it and we can then form it around them, and then we suck the air out of it, it goes solid around them, so it acts like a full body splint. We also put it on the stretcher to give them a little bit more sort of comfort and warmth particularly. Then we have a lot of ropes go through it. This is a 50-metre rope, so that one's not too heavy, but then we get to our 100-metre ropes. These are most useful on if we have a rescue perhaps on MAM tour, if somebody's got stuck on the steep ground, on the crag, we use these long ropes to rescue them. Also steep ground, so sometimes if somebody's just on a steep slope and we're trying to take the stretcher down, just to give us an extra bit of security, we'll attach what we call a back rope to it, which stops the stretcher sliding away. So we have more ropes, 3 100-metre ropes there and a 50-metre rope. In addition to those ropes, we have what we call rigging ropes. So these ones are ones that we can attach to anchors and so on. Then we have a specialist device. So we have the dual purpose rig. I won't go into it in detail now, but this is what we would use to attach the ropes. We attach the ropes in here, and then we'd attach this to the stretcher on a crag rescue. If we had somebody perhaps on man tour, so not a climber, so they haven't got a harness but we need to attach them to the ropes, we have what we call the nappy. And we can attach them, get them safely captured in there, and then escort them either up or down the slope with one of our rescuers. This is one of the smaller bags, but maybe one of the heaviest, and it's our crag kit. If you want to find out more about our crag kit, check our other videos. We have a bag full of spare helmets. When you qualify as an operational member, when you can come on call-outs, having gone through part 1 of your training, we get given helmets and gloves and sort of safety kit. For those trainees that haven't got that far yet, we have some spare helmets, and we also sometimes have to give them to the casualties.
Ready to take the weight? Okay, and lower.
With COVID around at the moment, this is a bag that we didn't used to have before COVID, and it's got extra PPE that you can see there. So we have those full suits, those full white suits that you'll have seen people wearing. We have a vehicle first aid kit. But if we were just driving along, we came across just a slight road accident or something where we just needed some simple first aid kit, we've got one here that we can just grab really, really quickly. And then we have a bag full of harnesses. Anybody that's going down with a stretcher or going down on a rope will be wearing one of the team's harnesses. I just remembered I said the crag bag was probably one of the heaviest, but I think this might just take the lead there. In here we've got our ground stakes. If we're doing a crag rescue, ideally we like to use natural anchors like we would if we were climbing, great big boulders, trees and so on. But if we're on an area of land where they're few and far between, we've got ground stakes here that we can hammer into the ground and attach our ropes to those. This contraption is how we attach the wheel that we saw right at the start, how we attach that to the stretcher. And today we have a slightly different stretcher. We normally have a stretcher in here as well, but at the moment we've just moved our stretchers around a little bit and we have a stretcher on the roof. Nearly there. This is called a KED, often used by I think the fire service, perhaps a little bit more than us. And again, it's a bit like a splint for the upper body, so it's useful for protecting the spine, particularly if you're extricating people out of car crashes or tricky situations. We have our steering wheel lock. As we were talking earlier, Land Rovers are iconic vehicles and there's quite a demand for them, especially as they're not being made, not being produced new anymore. So if we're leaving it parked anywhere, we will put the steering lock on. We have our bolt croppers, so occasionally we might have to cut through something to try and reach our casualty. Of course, we'll always get in touch with the landowner and replace it afterwards. So a useful bit of kit, not used very often, thankfully. Very last thing is a helicopter flare. We might have the air ambulance, we might have the S92 Bristow's helicopter coming in, and they like us to fire off a flare so they can assess the wind direction and wind speed and look for a suitable landing or winching spot. The back of the Land Rover, used for carrying personnel and also spare bags. So behind the seats we have some other kit. This bag has body bags in. Some of our casualties unfortunately don't make it. You know, we pop them in a bag before we put them on the stretcher and carry them down. On a lighter note, we have our animal rescue bag. Maybe once or twice a year to rescue animals. Sometimes it's dogs. We also have a bit of a brew kit on here, so if we're out for hours through the night, we've got a jet boil here so we can get some hot water going. We have some cups, not all of them are squashed like the top one. Lastly, behind these seats, is this. I have no idea what it is. I'm hoping somebody in our team does. But if you have any idea, just pop it in the comments below. Even more stuff we have, really important for the Land Rover, is the line that we use for towing. Okay, but under the seats, this is all the brains of the Land Rover. Behind the other seat just there, we have spare radios and spare torches. So that's all about the inside of our Land Rover. You've seen all the kit that it carries, talked about what's inside, what's outside. If you like the video, please like it and click to subscribe.